The Indian boy who became a rock legend. Every year, billions of people sing these words together. We will rock you. But almost nobody knows that the man behind this anthem wasn't British. He wasn't American. He was a Parsi boy, born in Africa, raised in India. His real name was Farrokh Bulsara. And this is the story no one told you. To understand Freddie Mercury, we need to go back nearly 1,200 years. The story begins in Persia. After the Arab conquest of the Persian Empire, many Zoroastrians faced increasing pressure to abandon their ancient faith. Some chose a different path. They gathered their families, their sacred fires, their prayers, and sailed across the sea to India. According to legend, when they arrived in Gujarat and asked for refuge, the local king sent them a bowl filled to the brim with milk. The message was clear. There was no room. The refugees responded by gently dissolving sugar into the milk without spilling a drop. Their message was equally clear. We will enrich your society, not replace it. The king allowed them to stay. These people became the Parsis of India. And more than 1,000 years later, one of their descendants would become one of the most famous musicians in history. His name was Farrokh Bulsara. Farrokh was born on September 5, 1946 in Stone Town, Zanzibar. At the time, Zanzibar was a British protectorate off the coast of East Africa. It was a place where Arab, Indian, African, and European cultures mixed together. His father, Bohemian Bulsara, worked for the British colonial court. His mother, Jair, raised the family in a beautiful Arabic townhouse overlooking the Indian Ocean. Young Farrokh grew up between different worlds, British schooling by day, Zoroastrian traditions and prayers by night. But when he turned 8 years old, his parents made a decision that would change his life forever. In 1954, Farrokh was sent to St. Peter's School, a boarding school in Panchgani near Bombay. For the first time in his life, he was completely alone, far from home, far from his family, far from everything familiar. The boys at school struggled to pronounce Farrokh, so they started calling him Freddie. The nickname stayed, and eventually the world would know him by that name. Freddie was quiet, shy, and often teased because of his teeth. He hated smiling. For years, he would keep his lips closed whenever possible. But when he sat down at a piano, everything changed. His headmaster quickly noticed his musical talent and wrote to his parents asking for a small increase in tuition so Freddie could receive proper music lessons. His parents agreed. That one decision would help shape the future of rock music. At the age of 12, Freddie won St. Peter's Junior All-Rounder Trophy for excellence in sports, art, and music. Then, in 1958, his friend Bruce Murray suggested they start a band. They called themselves the Hectics. The band played songs by Elvis Presley, Little Richard, Cliff Richard, and Fats Domino. And on a small school stage in Panchgani, Freddie Bulsara experienced something he would spend the rest of his life chasing: the sound of people cheering. In 1963, Freddie returned to Zanzibar after finishing school, but the island he remembered was about to disappear forever. On January 12, 1964, the Zanzibar Revolution erupted. The Arab Sultanate was overthrown. Violence spread across the island. South Asian families suddenly found themselves in danger. The Bulsaras had only a short time to pack what they could carry. 17-year-old Freddie, his parents, and his younger sister Kashmira fled their home, forever. They arrived in Feltham, Middlesex, a quiet suburb near Heathrow Airport. Everything had changed. The family that once lived comfortably beside the Indian Ocean now had to start over in a small house in suburban England. Freddie felt lost, but he wouldn't stay lost for long. He enrolled in art school, first at Isleworth Polytechnic, then at Ealing College of Art, where he studied graphic design. To support himself, he worked odd jobs. He washed dishes, he handled luggage, he sold vintage clothes and artwork at Kensington Market. One of his partners at the market was a young drummer named Roger Taylor. Yes, the same Roger Taylor who would later become Queen's drummer. Meanwhile, Freddie bounced from band to band. Ibex, Wreckage, Sour Milk Sea. Each one brought him closer, but none felt quite right. Then came 1970. A band called Smile had just lost its lead singer. The remaining members were guitarist Brian May and drummer Roger Taylor. Freddie stepped in. Brian May would later recall that Freddie had a unique presence, something impossible to ignore. Freddie also had another idea. He wanted to change the band's name. One word: simple, powerful, Queen. Using the graphic design skills he learned in college, Freddie designed the band's iconic crest himself, combining the zodiac signs of the members around a royal Q. Around this time, something else changed. Farrokh Bulsara officially became Freddie Mercury. For many biographers, this wasn't just a stage name. It was a transformation, an armor, a reinvention. In 1970s Britain, being an immigrant from Zanzibar with Indian roots wasn't always easy. The music industry preferred stars who looked familiar, who sounded familiar. So Freddie Mercury became the version of himself the world would see. Yet traces of Farrokh never disappeared. When asked about his flamboyant stage persona, he once jokingly described himself as a Persian popinjay, a playful wink toward his heritage. And through it all, the music carried his story. The 1970s saw Queen rise rapidly, but nothing prepared the world for what happened in November 1975. Bohemian Rhapsody, a 6-minute song with no traditional chorus, a song that jumped from ballad to opera to hard rock. Record executives thought it was too strange. Radio stations thought it was too long. The experts said it would fail. The audience made it immortal. The song reached #1 and stayed there for 9 weeks, and even today it remains one of the most famous songs ever recorded. Then came Live Aid, July 13, 1985, Wembley Stadium. 72,000 people in attendance, nearly 2 billion watching worldwide. Queen had only 20 minutes, no elaborate effects, no giant production, just Freddie Mercury and a microphone. What happened next is still considered by many to be one of the greatest live performances in music history. For 20 unforgettable minutes, Freddie Mercury completely owned the stage. The shy boy from Panchgani, the boy teased for his teeth, the boy nobody expected, now commanding an audience of millions. But behind the scenes, Freddie was fighting a battle of his own. In the late 1980s, he was diagnosed with AIDS. At the time, the disease was widely misunderstood and often fatal. Freddie told very few people. Instead, he kept working, kept recording, kept creating, even as his health declined. On November 23, 1991, he released a public statement confirming his diagnosis. The next day, November 24th, Freddie Mercury died. He was 45 years old. 3 days later, family and friends gathered in a small chapel in West London. White-robed Zoroastrian priests recited ancient prayers in Avestan, the language of ancient Persia. A sacred fire burned nearby. Among those present were Elton John, Brian May, and Roger Taylor. In a way, Farrokh Bulsara had come home. Today, his legacy lives on across the world. In Zanzibar, visitors tour the house where he spent his childhood. In Panchgani, St. Peter's School preserves his story through photographs, school records, and the piano that shaped his early years. In London, a blue heritage plaque marks one of his former homes. And every night, somewhere in the world, people still sing his songs. We Will Rock You, Somebody to Love, Don't Stop Me Now, Bohemian Rhapsody. None of it would have happened without a Parsi family that crossed oceans centuries ago. Without a British court employee working in Zanzibar, without a boarding school in the hills of Panchgani, without a revolution that forced a family to flee. The world remembers Freddie Mercury as a British rock star. But Freddie Mercury was Farrokh Bulsara, a Parsi boy, born in Africa, raised in India, reinvented in Britain, and unleashed on the world. And that is the story no one told you. Subscribe to Mind Scroll for more stories history forgot.